So after being gone for a couple weeks, I am finally back, and the reason why is actually going to be the topic of today's episode of the podcast. So welcome to this week's episode of Divergence and Divine. My name is WIllspiration, and today I'm going to be talking about burnout. Yes, that's right. That's where I've been the last couple of weeks. So about 2 weeks ago, I just had a really busy week, and then all of last week, I just couldn't think of a topic or anything that I really wanted to talk about. And I spent my whole week just trying to think of something. And then I just kind of hit a little bit of a creative block. And I should have uploaded a video to let you guys know I wasn't going to be uploading last week either. But I kind of just forgot about that. So yeah, that's where I've been. And burnout is actually very common with people like that are neurodivergent, because it's just kind of when you got a lot of things going on and you got a lot of stuff on your mind and you got like just a busy week or a busy day, or just kind of you have just a lot of things going on. You just kind of don't have that mental capacity to just do the things that you want to do or the things that you like to do, because you're just kind of so mentally burned out that you're just sitting there like, I can't even, like, I want to do this, but I just don't have the fucking mental energy to do it right now. I'm just gonna not do anything. I'm just gonna chill, rest, and just try to figure out what I want to do from here. Which is okay, because one of the biggest things that I feel like content creators typically don't do that I want to do is making sure that if I do hit burnout or if I do hit a creative block, that I just take time to myself. Because if I keep trying to sit there and force myself to think of something, then I'm not really going to be able to think of anything. And I feel like that's where a lot of content creators tend to suffer the most when it comes to, like, you know, being a YouTuber or a streamer, is how can I make this stream or how can I make this video like idea work? What kind of video idea can I create? Like, what can I do to get engagement with people, and what do they like or what do they not like, and what can I work with? And at some point it goes from being you were doing something that you wanted to do to bring entertainment to others to how do you keep up that entertainment? And it's kind of like, it all goes back to being like authentic and being true to yourself, which is just you do what you want to do, and the right people will like your content, and then they come and, you know, they'll watch your videos, or they'll come and watch your streams, or they'll listen to your podcast. And that is like the biggest thing that, especially for like neurodivergent creators, is when you hit burnout, it's okay to say, I'm taking a break. I've hit burnout and I have a creative block. I'm going to be gone for a week or two while I, you know, let my brain settle and just, you know, relax and try to just focus on life and do a couple things and just let my brain cool off, because at some point you will find an idea. And I thought of this idea earlier at the beginning of the week, which was, you know what? I didn't record last week because I was just burned out and I didn't have, you know, an idea, and I hit a creative block. So I just sat there and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do that for this week's episode. And then I also have today off, which is Saturday, July 5th, and yesterday was July 4th. So I was able to just kind of be like, you know what? I'll just record on Saturday, because why not? So, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. The thing about content creation, whether it be, again, like making YouTube videos, doing a podcast, live streaming, is just when you stop prioritizing your own well-being over the, you know, trying to keep your fan base happy, is where the biggest problems start to arise. And it goes back to even just your personal relationships. like with friends and family and coworkers, and you just kind of, you have to always put yourself first, because at the end of the day, you are still a human being and you still have emotions and you still have your own, limits of, what you can and can't handle mentally. And that's okay. If people don't if your fan base doesn't like the fact that you need to take a break from time to time and you can't entertain them, that's on them. They can unsubscribe, they can unfollow, and it's fine, because those are the kind of people that you really don't want in your fan base anyway, because they just don't really understand that, hey, you're a person. And the thing about content creation is that it becomes a very parasocial relationship. You get fans that are gonna, start having crushes on you and start wanting to be your friend, and you're just a person on the internet and you're just there to provide entertainment or information, and people just become really obsessed with you, and it's not, okay. I've heard many stories of like VTubers and other YouTubers and Twitch streamers, like, where they've had this very like one-sided parasocial relationship with a few fans, and like they've been stalked, and like if they didn't agree to meet their stalker, like their stalker would dox them and like leak their information and everything, and it can be very, very scary. And I think that that's kind of like the biggest issue is when you don't prioritize your own well-being, this is what happens. You are literally just inviting people to take advantage of you, because when you're already mentally exhausted, you're just kind of in that point of, I don't care, I just need to get content out. And not only does your content suffer, but you're also more susceptible to just kind of agreeing to do things that you probably wouldn't normally do. So if you got to take a break for a week or two because you got a writer's block, or you just can't think of any ideas for content, that's fine. The people in your fan base that actually see you as a human being and go, hey, I know you're doing this to bring joy and entertain other people, but I understand that you yourself are also just a normal everyday person like me. So I understand that you need your time to let your brain cool off and come up with new ideas. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, real people that see content creators as the real people that they are and not just a face on the internet understand that sometimes the best content is done with time and not just for the sake of entertaining people. It's like how good video games take years to develop and not like a couple years. Like the biggest example being Pokemon. Game Freak has finally decided to, for the first time ever, do their own game on their own terms that's not Pokemon, that's going to be available on all consoles and PC. And it's crazy good. The graphics amazing, like top, like AAA studio graphics. And this is the same company that makes Pokemon. And it really goes to show how 2 or 3 years versus like 5 to 6 years of development can make a video game look really mid to like really amazing. Because at the end of the day, Pokemon is a franchise, right? It's a multi-million or even multi-billion-dollar franchise. So the Pokemon Company International is like, we want these games pumped out now. We want, this anime started up as soon as possible. We want this merch to just get put out right away. We want this next TCG set to drop as soon as possible. And when you do that, a lot of fans, diehard fans, won't care if some of the stuff looks a little janky. They're still going to buy it anyway. But like a good consumer would be like, why am I going to buy this when the quality is kind of, meh. It's like meh quality. Like why would I buy it? It's like, it's the reason why a lot of people hate on the Pokemon franchise, like the video games specifically, because it's like, when you see what Game Freak is making for a game that they want to do from like that they've done for themselves that's not tied to like Pokemon or Nintendo, it looks amazing. They have the resources and the people to make amazing high quality 4K 120 FPS video games when there is no one breathing down their neck saying we need this game done by this time so we can sell it within this time frame. And it goes to show, because it's just like, if you look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, like, yeah, they added textures to the Pokemon models, so it kind of makes them look more realistic. But even then, you can just tell, like, for example, Pokemon with fur, it's like, the texture is just like a basic texture that if you go into the XCI files or the NSP files and you extract those textures, they're just like a gray transparent texture that the game will automatically color for the Pokemon. So any Pokemon that has fur or has like, is supposed to have like a thin coat of hair on it, they have the same texture. So, and because of that, it looks more painted on than it does like actual fur or actual hair. And that's where it suffers. But I'm going on a tangent over here, but like, to get back on track, it's the same thing with real life. When you're doing content and you feel like you have fans that are like, we want more, and they're like breathing, and it feels like your fans are breathing down your neck to make more videos, or to keep streaming every day for longer, or to try to do longer episodes of a podcast. You feel like you're burned out. And as I'm recording this is supposed to be episode 30, right? I only have 27 subscribers, and all of them, except for maybe a couple, are all people that I know, whether they're people from high school, people that I've met after high school, or people that I've met at previous, jobs. Those are all the people that are subscribed to me. And my Reiki teacher, of course, she's also subscribed to me as well. But I don't have that pressure of, I got thousands of subscribers and, they want content now. They're not going to sit there and be like, oh no, you can't take a break. You're supposed to entertain me, make videos, because I'm not there yet. So I want to use this opportunity to practice getting into that habit of, if I'm burned out, hey, I'm going to make a post, or I'm, through the community tab on my YouTube channel, or I'll upload like a 30-second to 2-minute video like, hey guys, I'm skipping this week's episode of the podcast. I'm just burned out, or I'm really busy, or I'm sick. So I might be off for a week or two. And again, that's why I always say at the end of every episode of the podcast that if you're watching on YouTube, because at some point these will go on Spotify or iTunes or wherever I can upload them. But right now I'm just sticking to YouTube right now because it's quick and easy. That's why I always say hit the notification bell, because the notification bell is what gives you that notification of, hey, WIllspiration just uploaded a video and it's, that week's episode of the podcast. That way, if you guys miss like the 30-second to 2-minute video of me explaining that I'm going to be offline for a week or two, then you guys aren't going, oh, why hasn't he uploaded a video? Now you know, hey, he's not going to upload for a week or two because he's got to take care of himself. And that I know that I'll get notified when he posts the next video of the podcast. Because yes, while there is no video playing in the background of this, it's just the audio, it's still technically considered a video despite it being a podcast. So you will get notified when that happens. And then this way, it's not like I just disappear randomly. If I do end up forgetting to post a video letting you guys know that I'm going to be offline for a week or two, at least let this episode 30, be a reminder that if I do forget, that's the reason why. And if I do forget to post something, then you guys can like redirect them to episode 30 right around like the 12 to 13 minute mark. Right, because right now I'm at like 15 minutes and 26 seconds of recording right now. As I'm saying this, it's obviously way past that. But after a little bit of editing, it might be around like the 12 to 13 minute mark. And that way people know from this point forward, like, oh, yeah, he forgot to upload a hey, I'm going to be offline for a week or two video. But if you go back to episode 30 around this timestamp, he'll explain why, and that it's normal that sometimes he might forget to upload a video explaining that he'll be offline. So you're good. No need to worry. But yeah, burnout is just, it's not fun. It's not. And especially right now, like at my job, I got it's considered a promotion, but like, because it is a step up from what I was doing. Because at my job I was a packer and now I'm a line lead, so now I'm like responsible for running lines. And if I end up being on a line that has a room, I'm also there are times where I'm going to be responsible for running the machines. So right now I'm in training, so like a lot of my brain power is dedicated to having to learn this stuff, because all the packets that I need to get signed off for and qualified on, they're done in sections. So I have to sit here and spend 2 days of my 3 days that I work trying to memorize all this stuff so I can get qualified on it. So then that way, once I'm qualified on everything, I can actually run lines or help run lines, because I'll be qualified. Otherwise, right now, I'm still just in training. So like my brain power is dedicated to trying to learn this stuff at work right now. So there are going to be times where I'm going to be like, hey, I just don't have the mental capacity this week. My brain is just shot from work. I'm going to take this week off so that way I can think of a new topic, so that even if I am a little bit, mentally exhausted next week, at least I have something to talk about, and that'll be that. And it's not just like with doing content creation either. Like burnout is very, very common. Like you could be doing something that you love. And for me personally, I feel like any sort of creative blockage that you might develop when doing something creative is just a sign of burnout. And you hear it all the time, like with writers, like writers will tell you how they have writer's block. And sometimes, and like to me, when I hear that, I just think sometimes that it's not that you have a block. It's just you're burned out. Like you've been writing nonstop and now you've hit a wall, because your brain is just like, please, let's just take a break for a week or two and just enjoy life. And we can come back and keep writing from there. And I feel like that's why content creators always have creative blocks, and like why writers have writer's blocks, is because eventually you hit that point of burnout and you're just like, I don't even know what to write about at this point. I don't know where to take the story. Or with video creation, you're like, I don't know what kind of new video I can do. Because when you look at YouTube, YouTubers or VTubers, they have like a specific niche. For example, there's a YouTube channel of a bunch of Australian guys called How Ridiculous. Their whole niche video thing is they like to basically essentially destroy things in different ways. So like they'll go to this tower out in like the outback, on the outskirts of the outback of Australia, on a 45-meter tower, which I believe is like somewhere between 150 and 200 feet tall, if you're, obviously if you're here in the States like me. And like they'll drop things from it with like they have like a little crane system and everything hooked up to that tower, and they'll just drop things and see like how much impact something can take, or that kind of stuff. They also have like a little garage where they do like little races and things like that. Recently they've been flying out here to the States more and been doing videos where this recently retired science teacher has been building all these crazy contraptions for them, and they've been testing them out. Like this guy built a Jeep cannon where he built his own cannon and attached it to a Jeep, and they were testing the cannon out. They recently, back home in Australia, built a giant blender, which they then converted into turning them into like the actual like wheel part, and like not manufacturing, but making their own like homemade helicopter blades that are like pretty much the same quality as like real helicopter blades. And they were using that in a video last week to see what they could cut with a plane chopper, like the blades moving at the speeds that they could. Like, what would happen if you hit a bird, or what would happen if, somebody, hit a baseball and it flew up and hit the blade of a helicopter. Like, would it damage the blades? Would it cut the baseball? Like, what are we talking about here? So they do a lot of things like that. Or like how there are these two British guys that go by the name of the slow-mo guys, and they do a lot of things where it's kind of similar to what How Ridiculous does, but it's more so about, not so much about like the seeing what things can withstand, so much as it is showing how, despite how some things can be so quick that when you slow it down, like super slow, you can kind of see how it's amazing how something that happens in the blink of an eye actually happens when you can actually perceive it. Like, there was one time where I forget what they did, but I know they were like, I think it was like they took like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what it was, but they've just, if you go to their channel, you can see like a lot of the things that they've done, and like just seeing it in slow-mo is crazy. And you're just like, wow, something that happens so quick looks so cool when it's like really slow. And yeah, I know like How Ridiculous does that too, but they're more focused on like doing things like that for fun, not so much for seeing it in slow-mo. The slow-mo just makes it look cool. Whereas like the slow-mo guys do this because it's like, it's almost like a form of art in a way. And that's kind of their thing. And yeah, there's a little bit of, common ground between How Ridiculous and the slow-mo guys, where they've actually collaborated and done things together. So that's, that's kind of cool. But like, once you find that niche, it makes it a lot easier to have like the foundation of content. Like, okay, those kinds of videos are what got How Ridiculous the most views, and they capitalized on that. Now that's what they do. So now they always have like a basis for something. So now it's like, how can we build off of that? It's like how in the Pokemon YouTuber community, a lot like the common format now amongst like the bigger PokeTubers is something that they call Then We Fights, where they take a ROM, like the ROM of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, run it through an emulator, and they randomize the starters, and then they have some weird thing that they do, like, choose your starter by only knowing blank, blank, and blank. Or, choose your, like one that Shady Penguin did, where it was like, choose your favorite and least favorite starter. And the concept was basically you randomize the game files. So the starters are randomized. You pick your least favorite and your most favorite that are on the screen. And then from a number of 1 to 24, you pick 2 numbers. And then the next person goes, they randomize their starters. They pick their least favorite and most favorite on the screen, and then they pick 2 numbers. You do that for 12 rounds? And then after that, you take the 24 Pokemon and you just load it up into a little randomizer machine where like you go like, hey, assign random numbers through 1 through 24, but split them down the middle, for 12 and 12. And then whatever number, the 2 people get, then the Pokemon are randomized to that. And then those are the those are the numbers that you get. So like basically it was Shady randomized all 24 of the Pokemon that him and Nintendo picked, and they were assigned, all the Pokemon were assigned to numbers 1 through 24, and then he ran it again where he randomized the numbers and split it down the middle, 12 and 12, and then those numbers were assigned to Shady, the other one were assigned to Nintendo, and the Pokemon that corresponded with those numbers were the Pokemon that they had to use. So Shady got some of Vinny's Pokemon, and Vinny got some of Shady's Pokemon. And, then they had a best of 3 set where first battle, they would pick 6, and then they would ban 1, and then they would use another 6, and then they would ban 1 at the end of the second battle. And then the third battle, with the 10 that they had remaining, they would just bring the best of the best for the third and final round. So it was like a best of 3. But like originally the whole concept of then we fights was we just choose our randomized starters and then we fight. Simple as that. It was just like a regular randomized Nuzlocke starter selection screen, and you just pick the one that you wanted, and then you would just battle. And then from there they started going, well, that's fun and all, but like what if we made it crazier, like our opponent picks our Pokemon, or we have to guess, like we have to take what our opponent has on the screen, but we have to guess the Pokemon based on certain information, like Pokedex numbers, types, only knowing like the first and last letter of the Pokemon's name, that kind of stuff. And then the Then We Fight formula got so popular that it's been popular for like the last 3 years. And that's kind of the niche of the PokeTuber community. And it's that kind of stuff right there that kind of just shows like when something works, you just stick with it. And especially if you become big enough to find your own, to find content creators that you can collaborate with, the words, then it's nice. And sometimes you end up going from having just like this, hey, do you want to collab? Like kind of like a transactional business partnership, to like, wow, you know what? You're actually pretty cool. And then you kind of make friends with the people that you collab with, rather than it just kind of being like, oh, hey, yeah, I just, do you want to collab again? It's like, no, now you're actually like buddies, and you can just be like, yo, we should totally do this for a video idea. And they'll be like, yo, I'm down. And that's like the kind of like the beauty of it, is that like when you find the right group of content creators that like share your idea, then like you kind of form your own little group, and then that little group kind of does like its own little thing. And sometimes some content creators find their own thing that is like so niche and only to like exclusively to them, but it's still so popular that that's how they get famous. And it just really goes to show that like, hey, when you find that thing that your niche is, you like, it just goes to show, because it's like, it's authentic, it's genuine, and you don't really have to put much effort into thinking about it, because it's like something that you really like to do. So it's just like, oh, I have a new idea for a video, or oh, I have a new idea for a stream, or oh, I have a new idea for a book. And, yeah, sure, every once in a while you're going to still hit a creative block, but it's typically not as bad, because it's just like, it's not like, because you already have the foundation, you just kind of might need an extra week or 2 to think of something. So you might want to, like 1 week, you might just take off and like not even think about doing content creation. Just chill, do everyday stuff, and just kind of do the things that you like. And then the next week, when your brain is a little more refreshed because you've enjoyed life a little bit more, then you come back and you look at what you can do for content. And then you're just like, oh, that's perfect. And that's kind of, I think, what a lot of, the good ideas come from, is when you do that. So if there's any sort of moral to this story, it's literally just make sure that you always put yourself first and take care of yourself. Because if you want to do content creation or anything of the like, whether it be writing, doing videos, live streaming, a podcast. If you have any sort of creation block, it's usually because you're burned out. So you literally just need to take a week or two off, enjoy life. And then eventually once you kind of let your brain calm down and you just do you, eventually you'll come up with an idea at some point and be like, oh, you know what? That actually works. I like that idea. That's perfect. So never be afraid to like tell people like, hey, I'm just really burned out right now and I just need a little bit of time to myself. So, hit me up in a couple days and I should be good to go. When like people ask you if you want to hang out, but you got a lot of stuff going on and you're just kind of not in the mood to hang out. Because the biggest thing is people should, I say should because not everyone does, but people should understand that, everyone gets burned out, everyone gets exhausted, and sometimes they just need like a couple days to themselves to just go, hey, you know what? I just need to let my brain cool off and I just want to do things by myself. I want to go on a walk, or I just need to catch up on sleep because I'm exhausted. So I want to take a couple naps today and just catch up on my sleep. Or, I just kind of want to spend a little time to myself because I want to do things I haven't done in a little bit. Like I want to catch up on, playing this game, or I want to catch up on reading this book, or, just there's nothing wrong with wanting to have some alone time to yourself. And if, your friends can't understand that, then obviously they're not really your friends, because your friends will actually understand when you're burned out and you just need to, have time to yourself. It's like, I have a couple of friends that are like that, where like I could text them. I might not even hear from them for like 3 days. And there's one that I work with. We're not on the same shift anymore, but we still work at the same place. And I may not hear from her, but she also has a lot of stuff going on outside of life too. So, it's not the end. It's not a big deal if she doesn't text me back, because it's like, okay, well, she's got a lot of stuff going on right now. So I don't really blame her, because I'd probably just want to focus on catching up on sleep and making sure that everything is good. Especially, if somebody's like a parent, especially a single parent. Because like, I know my other friend, he's married and has 2 kids with a third one on the way. And he's just been so burnt out. And, now recently he's been a lot more talkative, because it's just like, he finally got a new job after all these years, working at Burger King, for literally like, what, 10, 11 years? And he's finally gotten a different job. And he really likes it. And he's like, wow, so this is what a real job feels like. And now he feels a lot better. It's something that he likes a lot more. Something that he didn't think was out there for him. So now he's way more talkative. And it's better pay. So now he doesn't have to worry about trying to, struggle to provide for his family. And he's also autistic and has ADHD like me. And that's also really nice to see that, like, hey, when you go out there and you actually, get past the fear and you put yourself out there and you look for things, it's like sometimes you'll be surprised that the things that you kind of want to do that you didn't think were out there are actually out there. And I'm just like, that's what happens when you really start to take care of yourself and you kind of start thinking, wow, I could be doing so much more. And I feel like a lot of us just get stuck in that habit of we get so comfortable where we're at that we become stagnant. And then when we become stagnant, it's like we don't want to move because we're too comfortable. On top of the fact that we're also kind of scared because now we've gotten too comfortable. So now we don't know if we're capable of doing things that we thought we could once do. But then it turns out that no, I can still do this, or even just like I can adapt to be able to do this. And as neurodivergence, that's like, it's even worse for us because it's just like, can we adapt? Are we able to do this? And then once you're able to prove to yourself that you can, you're just like, oh wow, no, I can't do this. And that was kind of me with, my promotion to line lead was like, can I actually do this? And now I'm like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, I could do this easy. It's like my only issue is like with me and my autism is like, can I pass the qualifications on the first run, or am I going to fail a couple of times because it's going to be more memory based, like explain this process for some, whereas like others is like explain the process while you're showing it to me. So the ones where I have to explain the process and show, what I'm doing at the same time, I can pass those with flying colors because as I'm doing it, I can explain it. But if I have to just explain something, I have to memorize it. And that's why for me, I don't do like the podcast with a script. Like some people have like bullet points, like to stay on topic, but that's just not me. Me is just like sometimes going on little tangents and getting a little distracted and just kind of showing like what having autism and ADHD is like, where it's like there is some sort of structure, but it's also just kind of like random as well, because that's just who I am. So I don't like having to like memorize a script because then it just doesn't feel authentic. And that's what I was trying to explain to my trainer was like at work was like, but the thing is like, if we have a job instruction breakdown that we're supposed to memorize and do, but we aren't allowed to have it, then it's just like, how am I supposed to remember it? So I'm just glad that the first two qualifications that were like that are the only two that are like that. After that, it's literally, everything is literally show and tell at the same time. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to do. But yeah. So with that, I'm going to end this week's episode of the podcast. I hope you guys all enjoyed. As always, if you enjoyed, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. As I said way earlier in this episode of the podcast, I'll reiterate it again because it's part of my whole outro shtick, which is hit the notification bell, because the notification bell will give you a notification when I upload a new episode of the podcast. And with that, I'm going to get editing and I'm going to upload this, and then, it'll be up later on today. And I hope you guys have a good weekend and a good start to your week. And if I can think of anything else, I will see you guys next week. Otherwise, it'll probably be the following week. But again, if you hit the notification bell, you guys will know when I upload a new episode of the podcast. So, I will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.